Hello and welcome. This is Network Africa. Coming up on the program, one of the victims of the Egypt Hurghada attack narrates what happened at the resort.
A guy come from behind and he put in front of me and tried to stab me, and I don't notice it then, but I get one stab here at that time.
3 days after that incident, the Egypt's tourism minister promises better security measures.
To say that whatever had happened is even an important issue for us as a government and as a Ministry of Interior.
And later on, more camps open to accommodate migrants in France. But we take a deeper look at the challenges and opportunities of the migrant crisis. Hello again, and thanks for staying tuned to Network Africa on Channels Television with me, Cynthia Are. It feels amazing to be back, and I'd like to thank you for your loyalty to the program. Well, let's get right to it now. It's been a long weekend filled with a mix of events of different natures, but here's a quick summary of the top 3 stories which made headlines on the African continent.
Some good news. South Africa President Jacob Zuma is pushing for South Africa's private sector to change faster in order to give blacks a larger stake in business. The president told a rally on Saturday that the ruling party is doing what it can to help create more jobs in a local government election year. On the same day, the Islamic State claimed responsibility for a suicide truck bombing on a Libyan police training center that killed at least 47 people. The attack is reputed to be the worst since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. 2 days after the attack at the Hurghada Hotel in Egypt, one of the victims who was stabbed has been sharing his experience with the press.
Me and my father were having a meal, and suddenly a guy come from behind, and he put an arm in front of me and tried to stab me, and I don't notice it then, but I get one stab here at that time, and I think he tries to hit my chest, hit my heart, but I am stronger than him and I push him away. So I stand up and he touches me here one time, and it says, "Go down," in English. And it's with an accent. And then I don't understand. Everything is happening so quickly. And I look at them, and there are 2 guys. Both of them has a knife in the right hand and something that looks like a pistol, like a gun, in the left hand, something black. And I am shocked. I don't know what to do. And he sliced me here in the neck. And then he shoves his knife here. And I go to the ground. And I bleed here a lot from my neck. I thought I will bleed to death. At that point, I'm saying to my father, I think I will bleed to death right now.
The attack is yet another blow to Egypt's tourism industry, which has been on a gradual decline since 2011.
Now here's the latest concerning the weekend attack at Hurghada in Egypt. As you know, the attack targeted tourists, but the tourism minister, Hisham Zazou, is reassuring tourists that their safety and security is a top priority for the Egyptian government.
Whatever had happened is even an important issue for us as a government and as a Ministry of Interior, that our efforts in upgrading our activities when it comes to security measures in our country is a continuous issue. It's a continuous practice. We'll continue to upgrade it for both Egyptian nationals and visitors as well, ensuring their welfare and enjoyment in our country.
Egypt Tourism Minister Hisham Zazou. Now let's take a quick look at the Egypt tourism industry. It's important to note that tourism is one of Egypt's biggest employers and foreign currency earners. The tourism industry accounted for nearly 13% of Egypt's gross domestic product back in 2014. Travel and tourism also provided nearly 12% of Egypt's jobs last year. Hotel occupancy rates in the Hurghada resort, which was attacked over the weekend, were only 30% during the Christmas season. And now that the attack has taken place, it's almost zero. Experts believe that the recent attack on an Egyptian resort city frequented by tourists brings new challenges to an already struggling tourism industry in the Arab world's most populous country. And it's also important to note that the tourism industry could shrink by as far as 70% if British and Russian tourists choose to stay away from the North African country. But for more on the situation, we go live to Cairo, where the Voice of America's Heather Murdoch is standing by. Heather, thank you very much for joining us. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Now, I'd just like to start by asking you questions. Now that the Egyptian foreign minister has tried to reassure tourists of security being a top priority of the government, has that in any way doused the fear?
Well, government assurances are helpful, and we did want to hear that they are working together. I don't think it's doused fear. I think we need to have a substantial amount of time without an attack before tourists are going to start to feel comfortable to come back. There's also great fears among the people who work in the tourism industry that the continued decline will send more and more people out of work. There are a few tourists still coming in, like, for example, I have some relations on their way here, but they're buying everything totally returnable so that they can cancel their trip at any moment. So far, there's been consistent attacks through the course of 2015, and already there's been an attack in 2016, so people are quite scared.
Now, could you just enlighten us better about the current state of Egypt's tourism industry? Because we understand that experts are saying that we could see a 70% drop in the tourism industry if things continue in this direction.
People who work in tourism say that even a 70% drop could be an exaggeration. They think it's even more. I was recently visiting Sharm el-Sheikh, which is the largest resort city in Egypt, and while it was busy on New Year's Eve, by the next day, the streets and the beaches were nearly empty. People who worked in the local tourist shops said they heard there was a 35% occupancy, but they believed it was more like a 10% occupancy.
Now, finally, Heather, since you're on ground, your eyes on ground, are you actually seeing anything that suggests security improvement on the part of the Egyptian government, as was suggested by the tourism minister?
You can definitely see work being done, efforts being made to improve security. For example, the security at the Sharm el-Sheikh airport, which used to be kind of lax as a beach town airport, has been beefed up considerably, and the check lines are much longer. One of the concerns, though, is how effective are some of these changes being made. For example, if you have more police on the street, and around tourism sites, does it make people feel safer or more nervous because they're seeing more weapons around? Also, the airport line and check-ins are creating a backlog in the airports, which doesn't give the security at the very end of the trip into the plane enough time to really check the passengers on that end. So while they're definitely working towards securing all of the tourism sites and traveling in Egypt, it's not clear yet how successful it's been at this point.
Heather, thank you so much for giving us that update. Thank you very much. It's nice to have you again on the program. Have a good one.
Thank you.
The Voice of America's Heather Murdoch reporting from Cairo. Still to come on Network Africa. France accommodates more migrants, but at the same time, we take a deeper look at how significant Nigeria is in the current migrant crisis. Welcome back. You're still watching Network Africa on Channels Television. Now, plans to move thousands of migrants into more permanent camps in northern France are expected to be given the go-ahead later today. A new semi-permanent camp in Grande Sindh, coordinated with the charity Médecins Sans Frontières, will have showers, better sanitation, and even more protection against cold weather. Several thousand people are staying in the camps in Calais, and that's a very popular spot for those seeking to cross into the United Kingdom. Well, indeed, the migrant crisis is the worst the world has seen since World War II. That was how it was referred to back in 2015. But the challenges still linger. Despite those challenges, there are also opportunities. According to experts, we see that some of the opportunities which could be actualized or realized from this crisis include social cohesion and non-discrimination. Now, we understand that that is a very important factor that has the potential to transform the current refugee crisis into an opportunity with benefits for all. If also sound policy making is taken into consideration, we understand that equal access to the labor market and education will need to be made available, and that will give opportunities for family reunion, political participation, and the rights of long-term residents. We are also, based on that, if swift integration policies could transform the crisis into an opportunity for Europe to address demographic issues with EU economies, and that could also promote inclusive growth. That's as regards the potential opportunities lying in this crisis. But there are also very obvious challenges, and part of which is the issue of time, effort, and money. It will take all these three and also values. They will need the recipient countries, that's the destination countries of these migrants, will need to take the time and the effort and also money to instill values, traditions, and understanding of the law, of the language, as well as the rules and regulations of the destination countries. And that's so that things can go relatively smoothly. We also have an understanding that one of the major challenges regarding the migrant crisis is that of gender inequality, and we have an understanding that based on that, it could lead to increased crime rates like what we've seen happen in Cologne recently. But now we're going to shift our focus to what is happening in Nigeria. That's the significance of Nigeria regarding this crisis. You should know that the country ranks number 8 on the list of top 10 countries which applied for asylum in Europe as at 2015. But Nigeria is more significant in this crisis than we might even understand. Well, joining us to explain this is the Managing Director for the Center for Transatlantic Relations at Johns Hopkins in Washington, D.C. He is Ambassador Andras Simoyi. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you. Can you see me?
Well, I understand that we don't have the ambassador at the moment. We will do our best to connect with him. But for now, still to come on Network Africa. It's a new year, jobs resume, and so do classes in Garissa University. We have the latest from Nairobi, Kenya. Stay with us.